Resource person for today's lecture on preventive vigilance, which is being held in Jipad. Vigilance officers are attending this session, as well as this is for the benefit of all officers in the state administration belonging to various departments, autonomous bodies, aided institutions, etc. Our resource person for this session is Shri D.C. Jain, IPS. Mr. D.C. Jain joined the Indian Police Service in the year 1991 and belongs to the Rajasthan cadre. He has worked in many capacities in the state of Rajasthan as as Superintendent of Police, Inspector General of Police, and Additional Director General of Police. Sir has worked in the Anti-Corruption Bureau of the state and also headed the Jodhpur and Jaipur ranges of Rajasthan Police. As Additional Director General of Police, he headed the Vigilance, Personnel, and Headquarters branches of Rajasthan Police, as well as the State Crime Record Bureau and Rajasthan Forensic Science Laboratory. Sir Jain was on deputation in the Central Bureau of Investigation during 2002 to 2010 as SP and DIG. He joined the CBI back in 2019 at Mumbai as Joint Director, Mumbai Zone, and was elevated to the rank of Additional Director, CBI in September 2020 and Special Director in CBI in 2023 in the CBI head office at Delhi. Sir Jain has done his Bachelor's of Engineering in Electronics from the Malviya National Institute of Technology at Jaipur. He has done Masters in Applied Criminology and Police Management from the Cambridge University. He has been awarded the master's degree with distinction, and master's thesis was chosen for the display in the library of the Institute of Criminology, University of Cambridge. While working in Rajasthan Police, Sir joined the United Nations mission in Kosovo for a year during 2000 to 2001 and contributed in raising the new police force for Kosovo. Sir was also part of the Indian delegation which negotiated and finalized the extradition treaty and mutual legal assistance treaty in criminal matters in Mexico in 2006. Sir Jain has done 49 training courses at the National Defense College, New Delhi. From 2019 to 23, he represented India in the working group of Interpol constituted to review legal provisions relating to working of governance bodies of the Interpol. While working in CBI, Sir Jain handled many important and high-profile cases which include the Chandigarh High Court Judge case, Ghaziabad Court Provident Fund scam case, Tehelka tape cases, Delhi Cooperative Housing Society scam cases, NSC location scam case, land for job camps cases, Balasore railway mishap case, to name a few. Keeping in view his past experience in dealing with the issues relating to bank frauds while working in CBI, the Indian Banks Association, in consultation with the Department of Financial Services, Ministry of Finance, Government of India, has constituted a 7-member committee of serving and retired senior banking officials under his chairmanship to examine various cases of bank frauds and submit a report to effectively handle the same. Sir is recipient of the United Nations Peace Medal in the year 2001, Police Medal for Meritorious Service in the year 2007, the President's Police Medal for Distinguished Services in the year 2017, and the DGP Disc of Rajasthan Police for his work in the year 2018. He is also a very eminent speaker on various subjects related to administration in various reputed institutions in the country. Today, Sir is going to again handle a very important subject, as I already mentioned to you, on vigilance. And we look forward to listening to you, sir, and to all the valuable insights you have to share with us. With this, let us welcome sir and request sir to please take over.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Very good morning, everyone. First of all, I thank Director Vigilance Yashashwini ma'am, Director Jipad Shri Vasudev, and of course Ms. Seema Fernandez, who approached me for this session today. I'm happy to be here again. My last visit was in the month of August, not I think very recently I had come here. So today you are going to have a very long day with me, almost 6 hours. So obviously I hope they are not torturing you, because you shouldn't feel tortured. The same speaker is going to be there for almost 5 to 6 hours. But I think the program and the topic is very important, because we are celebrating, as has been introduced, the Vigilance Awareness Week, and it is being celebrated in the birth week of our Iron Man, that is Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. 31st October is his birthday, as we all know. So basically, may I have the pointer, please? Because though the session looks very long, but the topics that I've been asked to cover, I think doesn't give us much time to kind of, I'll try, because there are three topics basically that we are going to talk about. Vigilance awareness, which is the first session, which is, as has been told, will be live streamed. Then we will talk, in fact, about the salient features of the Prevention of Corruption Act in after tea. Then we will cover the conduct rules, which I think as vigilance officers no one knows better than you, and of course issues relating to conduction of departmental inquiries. So this is going to be the scheme of presentation. I am going to begin with the, is it visible? Sure. I'm going to begin with the introduction, then I'll basically highlight issues relating to corruption, because I think when we say the theme of the Vigilance Awareness Week is culture of integrity and nation's prosperity. So when we talk about integrity, basically we are indirectly talking about the issues relating to corruption, because I think a person who is supposed to be honest, all of us are supposed to be honest, is supposed to maintain high levels of integrity. So integrity has a direct bearing, though of course when we talk about integrity, it is a wider concept than even corruption. Corruption is one important part of integrity, because professional integrity, financial integrity, even the way you conduct yourself. In fact, when we talk about the conduct rules, as I will try to explain, the idea is to instill ethical behavior, a particular behavior, a desired behavior in each civil servant. So we will talk about that. Then of course that I'll touch upon the issues which affect vigilance awareness, and then how to promote the culture of integrity in organizations, departments, etc. As I said, we will have an overview of the Prevention of Corruption Act. Why is it important, particularly for the vigilance officers to know? That also I'll try to explain. Then conduct rules, CCA rules, departmental inquiries, and we'll conclude. Of course, as vigilance officers, not otherwise also, everybody who is in the government, whether it is the state government or the government of India, central government, we are all public servants. So what is the meaning of this? Because when we join the government servant, as I will show in the next slide, we enter into a kind of unwritten agreement. What is that agreement? That we will be governed by a particular conduct. We can't behave the way we want. We are no longer a free citizen from that point of view, in the sense that all of us know in our constitution this part 3 is there, which talks about fundamental rights, in particular article 19, which talks about various types of freedoms, freedom to speech and expression. If I may give an example, as government servants, as public servants, are we free to criticize our government in public? Why? Because our conduct rules doesn't permit. Right. So therefore I think we have to govern ourselves, we have to behave ourselves in a particular manner, and we should be aware of the laws and the rules that govern our working. It is also important, and all of us have a responsibility to set in this culture of integrity. And all of us at one stage or other in our careers will be required to discharge various responsibilities. When I say the responsibility of sanctioning authority, what is the meaning of this? Like particularly in the Prevention of Corruption Act, there is one section 19 where it says that no court can take cognizance against a particular against a public servant for particular offences under this act without the previous sanction of the competent authority. So who is this sanctioning authority? Of course, people like us. at certain levels. So if I have to discharge the responsibility of the sanctioning authority, which is such an important responsibility in the sense that I am going to decide the future of a civil servant, whether this person will be prosecuted or not for an offense in a court of law. I don't think it is a mean task. It is a very huge responsibility. Obviously, I must know what is this Prevention of Corruption Act, what are the issues relating to that. Next is disciplinary authority. Obviously, all of you know the importance of disciplinary authority. It is you who decide whether we should initiate, regular departmental inquiry for major penalty proceedings or for minor penalty proceedings. How the inquiry is being done, who can be appointed as an inquiry officer, what are the rights of the officer charged upon, and once the report is received by the disciplinary authority, what it can do, what it can't do. Similarly, if you are appointed as one of the inquiry authority yourself, then how to conduct inquiries. It is such an important work, because as we all know, these kind of inquiries are considered quasi-judicial proceedings. What it is, I think we will see it more. Lastly, ignorance to law is no excuse. That is, I think, one of the most important things all of us need to appreciate. Nobody tomorrow who is maybe caught in some corruption case or anything otherwise considered as an unlawful activity can take this plea as a defense. Sorry, I didn't know. Had I known, I would have not done this. Suppose if someone steals as a thief, can tomorrow when that person is arrested by the police or charged sheeted in a court of law, can take this defense? I didn't know stealing is an offense. I didn't know this is an offense under the IPC. Now the IPC has become Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. So this is the rule of jurisprudence, that nobody can take this plea that I didn't know, I was ignorant. And ignorance to the law and the rules many a times leads to incorrect decisions. When we don't decide our job, when we don't perform our job diligently, it leads us to many difficulties, because it can lead to incorrect decisions. So that is why it is important to know about these things we are going to talk about. As I said, the moment we all join the government, we enter into a kind of unwritten agreement. Curtailment of freedom, I have already explained. We have agreed to be under watch, whether we like it or not. As a public servant, public means you have agreed to be under watch. Your conduct in particular, how do you conduct yourself, not only in your office but even outside your office also. People generally keep a watch on the government servants. Where do they go, how do they spend, how do they behave even in public, particularly if people come to know that you are at a responsible position in the government. So you have agreed to be under watch. You are continuously or constantly under public scrutiny. Maybe some people who hold certain positions are more under public scrutiny than the rest. But whenever a common man comes to know that this particular person is an officer in the government, then obviously they watch your conduct, I think, very diligently. Issues related accountability. We are all accountable for what we do. And not only that, we have to be at the decision making level. Whatever we write, whatever we recommend, whatever decisions we take, we are accountable for that. It means that somebody can ask you tomorrow, why did you write this? Why did you make this recommendation in this manner? Why did you decide it in this manner? And particularly in today's era of transparency, when we know about this Right to Information Act, RTI, etc., where even a common man can ask us. They can even seek, copy of the note sheet and all those things, So we have to be accountable. We have to enforce accountability in our work area. Ethics and integrity, ethical behavior. Why every organization desires, every employer desires that its employee should behave in an ethical manner. What is the meaning of this? Means they should try to align with the goals and objectives of the organization. What is good, what is considered good, everyone should try to promote that, and what is considered bad, what is considered as something undesirable practice, I think people should shun away from that. So that is the idea. Integrity, of course, we are going to discuss in detail. Corruption is an evil. Why? It is a widespread phenomena. It affects one and all. There is no person who can say that I am not affected by corruption in the country. Maybe not only as a public servant, but as a common man, as a citizen of the country, as we all know. I think this point doesn't need any further explanation, because it leads to denial of equal opportunities and infringes upon enjoyment of rights. We all know, we keep reading about various types of recruitment scandals happening these days. You know about this NEET exam which happened very recently. The matter went right up to the Supreme Court. So these kind of issues, you know, where you are not providing equal opportunities, whereas as we all know, this is our constitutional, again, fundamental right under Article 14, right to equality. Everybody has to be treated equally, equality before law. So corruption is a serious violator of human rights. Do you agree or not? Isn't it? Because I think some people are denied, some people are treated more equal than others because of the corruption. Corruption means it promotes favoritism. Isn't it? Some people will be favored at the cost of somebody else whose rights have been infringed because of this. So it is a denial of justice to a large segment of population. And last point is very important, it leads to social unrest. When you read the history of Naxalism in this country, when you read the history of insurgency in this country, when you go to the tribal areas and why they are considered more fertile for the growth of issues relating to this Naxalism, if you try to study and find out, you will discover that one of the main important reason is the corruption. It's not that government of India has done nothing. They have spent huge money on the development of these areas. Maybe the locals, they had this perception that the money didn't reach us, it was not spent on our welfare, our development, and people in between, those who were touts or middlemen, they ate away. So obviously it leads to unrest. People take arms, in their hands and things like that. It negates economic development. It generates black money, no doubt, because corruption generally in India in particular, people take money in cash. There's a huge cash flow, isn't it? Generally people are that much aware that if they will take bribe in their bank accounts, the chances of their being caught is very high. It will be easy to find evidence against them to kind of prosecute them in a corruption case. So people are very clever, they will not take it directly in their own name, they will find other ways, what we call as Benami properties, Benami assets, and particularly there are certain sectors of economy, particularly the real estate, where we all know there is so much consumption of this black money. So corruption generates black money, it impedes growth and it leads to inflation. Obviously someone whose pocket is full of the illegal money, that person doesn't bother about the price of the product, isn't it? Someone who is honest, he will always be bothered how much I can spend, how much I can't spend. Somebody who is dishonest, obviously that person's pockets are always full and he is not bothered about the price of the product that person is buying. So it leads to inflation. We know about this Transparency International, I hope all of you have heard of it. Transparency International, basically they conduct surveys amongst the general public every year. They build up what they call as perception index. Means they ask you, what do you think about the revenue department of, say, of Goa? Do you think you have to bribe in order to get your work done? Or you think people here are generally honest, who kind of deliver without taking money? So based upon these kind of surveys and feedback, they come out with what they call as the perception index. They rate 180 countries, so the one who is at rank 1 is considered the least corrupt country. So out of this list of 180 countries, where is India? In the year 2023, we were at 93rd position. Not a very happy situation. In fact, I think earlier around 2012, 13, 14, 15, we were somewhere around 89, 88. Now we are at 93. So, as far as the common man of the country is concerned, they don't think great about us. Therefore, last point is that if we hope to become superpower, then obviously we'll have to deal with this problem of corruption. We'll have to eradicate this corruption from us. And why there is so much corruption? This is very important. What are the reasons? First and most important, corruption is regarded as a low risk, high profit activity. Now, how do you explain this? What is the meaning of this low risk, high profit activity? Just common sense, nothing else. Yeah. Make an attempt. Low risk, high profit. It is considered a low risk. Low risk means if you will indulge in it, the chances of getting caught are very few. So there is not much of risk involved, isn't it? Doesn't this kind of culture encourages people to indulge in corruption? When they know that the chances of being caught are very few, rare, obviously they will be encouraged. And if the opposite is true, that the moment you indulge in anything wrong, and that is how in different departments, depending upon the kind of vigilance the vigilance officers are able to maintain or instill, people behave accordingly. People are in any case street smart. They find out how vigilant is this particular department. So if it is considered as a low risk means, and obviously high profit, means the chances of getting caught are rare or very few, so there is not much of risk involved, and obviously corruption means you make money, unlawful money, so high profit, low risk. This has been taken from the business, business activities. Now the general perception of the public, as I have quoted this perception index also, generally if you go and talk to a man on a street, do they have a very high opinion about the government servants? Generally people say, nahi sahab, bina paise diye kaam nahi hota. We know, those of us who have been in the government for many years or otherwise also, that no, most of the people in the government are honest. It is not that majority of the people in the government are corrupt. I think people, those whom we call corrupt, are very few. But the perception is right opposite when you ask a common man. Why is it so? Because of the attitude of apathy, indifference, tolerance and acceptability. This is very, very important, and I'll explain it in the next slides. Apathy, indifference, tolerance and acceptability. What is the meaning of these terms, these phrases? It doesn't bother me. I am not bothered. So long as I am honest, so long as there is nothing against me, whether my neighbor sitting next to me is indulging in corruption, I am not bothered. This attitude of apathy, indifference, it doesn't affect me. I am not being affected. It may be affecting the person who is a victim of the corruption. So I am not feeling any pain for that. Tolerance and acceptability, those who are victims, they also tolerate. And we all know that there is this culture of acceptability. We know the behavior changes. If I may give an example, like so sometimes this is what people say, which is not incorrect also in a way. I am against corruption so long as I am a victim. If I am asked to pay money, I will go and tell everybody else that I was forced to pay money. But suppose if I reach on a position, suppose someone in my family is appointed in a government at a position where this person has a chance, whether the same person will not have certain expectations in inverted commas from that family member. अरे भाई वो तो ठीक है, ऊपर की कमाई का क्या हुआ? हमने तो, this is what all along we have heard, that those who join the government, in addition to their salary, they also have other ways and means. So sometimes you are under pressure, not only the peer pressure, even the family pressure. So tolerance and acceptability, these things are very, very important. And see this quote of Edmund Burke, I think so apt. What it says, The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good man to do nothing. What is the meaning of this? Why the evil triumphs? She said this Dashara was there, this festival, we always say the victory of good over evil. The victory of light over darkness, Diwali, thereafter. So this is what he says, that if you make these good men, so-called honest people silent, if they don't speak up, all the good men in the organization, if they look the other way, when wrong things are happening, you don't have to do much. Then in that case, you will ensure that this particular organization or department goes to dogs. Isn't it? I think this is what the thinker is trying to say. So, this is what I call it contributory negligence. Contributory negligence means that willingly or unwillingly, voluntarily or involuntarily, we are all contributing. In what? In promoting the culture of corruption. So, we are all responsible in a way. So, this is what contributory negligence legitimizes corruption in any organization, because it depends on what kind of culture. We are talking about culture of integrity. That is the broader theme of the Vigilance Awareness Week this year. So, what kind of culture you set in your organization, in your work space, that is what I am going to talk about. Contributory negligence legitimizes corruption. It indirectly promotes corruption. Two types of persons are very important in any organization: fence-sitters and new entrants. First, let us talk about the fence-sitters. Anybody who are fence-sitters? They are not very courageous people. This is a human nature that first people watch. When in any organization, I am influenced by the behavior of others. I am influenced by the conduct of others. Fence-sitters means I am not very courageous as a person. So, मैं थोड़ा सा देखता हूँ दाएं बाएं how people are behaving, isn't it? But when I see that in this department everybody is enjoying. When I say enjoying means making money. So, as a fence-sitter, what would I be, encouraged towards? Why should only I be deprived of this enjoyment when nothing is happening to those who are enjoying? So, it means here there is a culture of acceptability. There is a culture of tolerance for corruption. So, fence-sitters means they will also go which way, and if if they come to know this organization is very strict, and the moment anyone tries to indulge in anything wrong, they are caught, actions happen. So, in that case obviously the fence-sitters will behave. They find out, so वो क्या बोलते हैं उसको हिंदी में, कि वो देखते हैं कि the stream is flowing which way, and they accordingly adjust their behaviors and way of working. अगर देखते हैं यहाँ पे honesty is a virtue in this department or this organization, they become honest. If they think the opposite is true, then accordingly they adopt or imbibe that behavior. New entrants, obviously every department has new recruits, people who just join. What will the first thing a new entrant will do? They will again observe us, those people who are already there, because they look, they learn. By observing, by looking at the way the others have been behaving, they also learn and imbibe. New entrants, the same thing. If they will also come to know that यहाँ तो अच्छा कमाल है, everyone is enjoying, so why should I wait? At a very young age, you will kind of promote or incline those people also to join this stream. So that is what I am saying. It is vigilance awareness. Awareness. Two things are important when we talk about awareness. Why do we celebrate these awareness weeks? You have to be aware and you have to create awareness. That is why I think the Department of Vigilance or the GPART, they take the initiative in organizing these kind of workshops, so that people are made aware of the issues, how important it is to be vigilant. So, what is important is to awaken these so-called passive honest employees. these so-called good men in inverted commas who are silent. And the idea is to awaken them so that they wake up and they kind of start speaking up against what is considered undesirable or bad behavior. It is, I think, a very, very important thing. We are not only public servants because we have joined the government. We are also citizens of the country. So, as a citizen or as a public servant, we are all responsible. And the important thing is what should be the idea, ultimate objective of any awareness exercise. We all know, because as a CBI officer, I have worked in CBI for more than 12 years in my state also. We used to have very regular interaction with the vigilance departments of the Government of India. One of their complaint was always this: there are so many people in the department or the organization, and in the vigilance we are very few. So how can you expect us to take care of the corruption of so many? Because we are understaffed, we don't have much resources, and if we undertake an inquiry, it goes for many years, and so we are not able to deal with the backlog. How can we take up new matters and things like that? What is important is everybody has to be a vigilance officer. Why this particular task is to be left only to those who are formally working under the vigilance department or vigilance office? Idea is in the government, and when we will see the conduct rule, I think those who read the conduct rules, the very first conduct rule, that is rule 3 of the Central Civil Services Conduct Rules, what it says very clearly, you have to maintain absolute integrity at all times. That is for you. As a public servant, as a government servant, each government servant must maintain absolute integrity at all times. That is one. And then in the next or after a couple of points, what it says, you are also responsible for the integrity and conduct of people working under you. So you are not only responsible for your own conduct, you are also responsible for the conduct of people who work with you. So that is why it is very important that all of us should discharge the responsibilities of a vigilance officer. Now, what are the issues relating to vigilance? As we know, what is vigilance? Basically, vigilance is the state of being alert to a danger which could harm. Vigilant rahiye. People say be vigilant, be careful. Suppose if suddenly in the area where you live, incidents of theft start happening, will you get worried or not? I think you will stop sleeping. You will be very, very vigilant even in the night also, because you are not sure when the thieves can enter your house, burgle your house and take away your belongings. So vigilant state of being alert to a danger which could harm an individual, an organization or a society at large. It is not vigilantism. Vigilantism, some incidents must have happened where you take the law into your hand and you mistreat or manhandle the people. No, corruption harms, and therefore it is very, very important to be vigilant against corruption. Who are the stakeholders? When we talk about vigilance, awareness, now coming to the brass tacks, role of the concerned ministries, departments and CVOs. Many people harbor this impression that it is the responsibility of these anti-corruption agencies like CBI, the Vigilance Bureau or the state anti-corruption bureaus. It is their job to take care of the problem of corruption, because there is a criminal law, as I said, the Prevention of Corruption Act, and these agencies have been authorized under the law to register and investigate and prosecute, etc. No, if you will leave this job to only these agencies, definitely then you will not be able to eradicate corruption. The first responsibility in fact lies with the departments, with the ministries, together with the chief vigilance officers or the vigilance departments of those places. Then comes the role of the enforcement agencies. I talked about CBI, Central Bureau of Investigation, the State Anti-Corruption Bureau, CVC, Central Vigilance Commission, under whose directions you have been celebrating this week. Then you know about Lokpal and Lokayuktas. There is a Lokpal Act of 2013 which came into force from January 2014. Now we have the Bharat Ke Lokpal, isn't it? Similarly, in the states you are supposed to have Lokayuktas. So they are the highest, anti-corruption bodies in the country. Role of media, we all know the role of media, the press. They are called the fourth, pillar of the democracy. For this is the reason, because they have to be vigilant. They also have to expose corruption, and we know many cases have been registered even by CBI on the reports published by media. I think in my introduction they mentioned about this Ghaziabad Provident Fund case of the Ghaziabad court. How this particular scheme, which was so big that this reached right up to the Supreme Court. It was not a small scheme. This scheme, even the judges of the honorable judges of the Supreme Court came under scanner of CBI. When we were investigating, we had to interrogate and examine even the sitting judge of the Supreme Court. Forget about the judges of the High Court and the lower judiciary, the subordinate judiciary. There were so many involved. So how it was exposed? In one of the visual media, there was a report in the Prime News which used to come at 9 p.m. So it was taken from there and then it was built upon. So media has an important role. We know about this accountability enforcing agencies like the Audit Department or the Comptroller and Auditor General Government of India, and of course the parliamentary committees, Public Accounts Committee. A very important committee. There are many such oversight bodies, so they also have a role. But above all, it is the vigilant citizens of the country who matter the most, because they are the stakeholders who are the victims, who are the affected people, whom the corruption affects the most. Obviously, the common man of the country. So they also must raise their voice. When we talk about corruption, there are basically two types of corruption: collusive corruption and aggrieved corruption. What is the difference between collusive corruption and aggrieved corruption? Anybody can just make an attempt if they wish to. Collusive corruption, where the bribe giver and the bribe taker both are happy. Nobody is complaining. Why? Both are the beneficiaries. Suppose, if I may give an example, you receive a notice from the income tax where they say there is a demand on you, deposit 1 crore, and also there is a penalty on this. Now, if that person to whom the notice has been served, if approaches the income tax officer who has issued the notice and they strike a deal, instead of raising this demand, you take rupees 20 lakhs from me as a bribe and let me off this matter. So it is a win-win situation for both. So who is at loss? The exchequer has been put to loss, isn't it? The public exchequer, the money which should have been there in the public exchequer, in our treasury. So who is at loss? Both are happy, nobody is reporting. Because he thinks instead of paying 1 crore, I had to only pay 20 lakhs. This person is saying, I have received 20 lakhs. So this is called collusive corruption, and this is the biggest challenge. How to unearth this collusive corruption? Because when the bribe giver and bribe taker both are happy, then obviously it is difficult to detect this kind of corruption. Aggrieved corruption, you can make the sense where the bribe giver gives it unwillingly, when that person is coerced or forced to give bribe, then in such circumstances generally many a times they make a complaint. Last part of the first part of our presentation today, what should be the strategy to setting in this culture of integrity in an organization? That what is the meaning of it? A strategy to fight corruption. 5 P's. I have divided this into 5 P's. Very shortly, briefly, I am going to discuss every P, how important it is. Prevent, point, probe, punish and protect. One by one, we will discuss all these 5 P's. Prevent. What do we know by prevention? I don't think we have to explain, because Mr. Vasudev in his introductory remarks talks about two types of vigilance: preventive vigilance and punitive vigilance. So preventive vigilance is considered more important. Why? Because we all know what prevention is better than cure. In our day-to-day life also, why our parents tell us eat this, don't eat this, look after your health, because don't fall sick when you go out, be careful. Why? Because they know once you fall sick, you will have to go to the doctor, you have to take the medicine, and there are side effects and things like that. Sometimes the cost is very heavy. So the idea is that if you look after yourself, please prevent. So don't allow this problem to occur. Don't allow the corruption to flourish. That is the idea of preventive vigilance. And how do we enforce that? The first important point is we must minimize the opportunities of corruption. Shouldn't I know my department better than anybody else? Shouldn't I know the workspace where I work, that which are the areas where people, given an opportunity, will indulge in corruption? So can I plug in these loopholes when I know that these are the points and places of corruption? You have to identify the corruption prone areas and practices, because not every desk provides you the opportunity to indulge in wrongdoing. We know certain desks are considered more sensitive within the same department, within the same organization. So we must know and we must minimize the opportunities of corruption in those corruption prone areas and practices. We must promote as an organization culture of integrity. I am again reminding you of the theme. So how do we build in this culture of integrity? We have to promote transparency and accountability. Transparency, what is the meaning of transparency? Am I open to questions? Am I prepared to be questioned on what I have done? Okay, I don't mind if you ask me. I can explain. So it means you are a transparent person. Indirectly, in other ways, you can also say you are a responsive person. You are responsive in the sense that you don't mind if you are questioned. So do we promote this kind of culture, or we promote a culture of closeness where people do not like to be questioned, where people do not think transparency is a good idea? Next point is very important. Ensure simple, citizen-friendly rules and procedures. So important, isn't it? And you must continuously evaluate, because particularly when you deal with the public, in whatever department, organizations you are working, obviously when you are servicing a client, and our clients are generally the people, common men of the country. So when they have to approach us, when they have to apply to us, whether they can, because the rules are, whether they are simple, citizen friendly, anybody should be able to understand. I'll give some examples just now in the next slide. And procedures. Ensure judicious use of discretion. Discretion, what is discretion? I think I need not explain. It is not possible for the lawmakers, legislatures, and it is not even possible for the leadership in any organization to lay down everything in black and white. You may make rules, they are general rules, they are broad guidelines that you must do this in this manner. But there are many situations where you have to take a call because there may be an emergency, and if you look into the rule book, you don't find an answer. So in such situations, you have to use what you call your own wisdom. Vivek जिसको हिंदी में कहते हैं, you have to use your own wisdom. That is called discretion. So without discretion, no person can work or discharge or be effective. You will have to, otherwise you become indecisive. Otherwise you will become indecisive. If you refuse to take a decision in a situation where I am not finding answer to this in the book, in the guidelines, in the circulars, if you will start looking at circular for each and every problem that you will face in your career, then you will be rendered ineffective, isn't it? Because the government, they don't like such kind of leaders. They want people who are decisive, who take decisions, isn't it? No one likes people who turn to their seniors, who turn to the government, please guide me now what to do, because I don't find an answer to this problem in the circulars. So you will have to use discretion, but the idea is that you must use it judiciously. When I say judiciously, the issues relating to objectivity, fairness, impartiality, idea should not be to favor somebody. It should not be you show me the face and I'll show you the rule. That should not be the idea. Last point is very important: ensure having effective grievance redressal mechanism. Grievance of whose? Not only the people who are outside, the external environment, your clients, your customers, but your own people also. Those who work with you, those who work under you, how do you deal with them? What kind of treatment you extend to them? Do you listen to their grievances or not? Do they have an effective grievance redressal mechanism in your organization? Not. Why? Because whether your workplace will be a happy workplace or a disgruntled, kind of workplace, a lot depends on, I think, the kind of grievance redressal mechanism you have. Promote use of technology. Two examples come to my mind very quickly. I think for the brevity of time, only one example I'll give. Those of you, how many of you have visited a passport office for getting your passport made? Madam? Only two? Passport office. When I say passport office, I am saying regional passport office, the one who signs and issues your passport. I am not talking about passport seva kendra. No, but not everyone is asked to go to the passport office. Only you have to go to the passport seva kendra. That is passport seva kendra, madam. That is not passport office. Right. But those who may have had the experience of my age in the year say 90s, early 90s or 90s, if I had to get a passport in 90s, there was no online application. I had to visit the passport office and I would not be able to enter the passport office. Why? Because when I go there, I find the middleman and the tout surrounding the passport office, the way when we go to make our vote, when we go for voting, representatives of political parties, sitting on both sides of the road. It used to be the same sight. They would not allow you to enter the passport office. Passport banwana, hamare paas aiye. Only they knew, because the application itself was so complicated. Only with their help we could make the application. Unless they guide us, and obviously they'll charge us. Everything has been changed. Isn't it? Today, you don't even know where is the passport office, many of you. You have to make an application online. It is very simple, easy, very friendly. As I said, simple, citizen friendly, and you can track everything. You will immediately get to know on this and this date, please visit this passport seva kendra at this time, along with these documents, and you will be photographed. So you go there, and they are like professional centers. They give you a token. I have seen in certain couple of places. And at your appointed hour, you are on the window. Just click your photograph, submit your documents, and go away. Thereafter, you can again track it on their web. So they keep informing you about every movement. Like now the police verification, we have sent it to the police station. So and now the police verification has been received. Everything is okay, and now your passport is under print. Because there is a queue. It's not that they print it the way it is a very special kind of printing. So it takes time, and sometimes your passport is in queue of printing itself. It takes time to print it. So they say it is under print. Then they say, now we have dispatched. Can any one of you has the experience of receiving your passport by hand from the passport office? They simply do not allow. Even if somebody approaches us, I'm in a hurry, I have to apply for visa, and I have already booked my tickets. Can you please put in a word to the passport office and request them to give it me by hand? They will say, sorry sir, we only dispatch. So the technology has removed all these middlemen, and this transparency has taken this corruption to a large extent out of the way the passports are made today in this country. Other examples could be of railway tickets, reservation, isn't it? At one point of time, you have to go to the window and get your reservation. How difficult it was. And we used to struggle with the TTs in the trains. Those things have become a thing of the past in this country. Banks are another example. Not many people, if I may ask the young officer, have you visited your bank branch? She doesn't know, maybe not even know where, in which city, in which place is my bank branch, where she has a money. Was it possible in our times? It was not even easy to get a bank account opened. Forget about taking a loan from the bank. लोन लेने आए हैं आप, ऐसे ही मिल जाएगा लोन, क्या बात कर रहे हैं आप हमको? This is how the bank manager would talk to us. First of all, it was not possible to reach the bank manager unless you know that person, you know. So technology is a great leveler. Therefore, wherever we can promote technology, e-governance, it is an era of e-governance, so we must. And important next point is promote participatory approach. Whether you are comfortable in a closed environment or an open environment. What I am saying, the kind of leadership we provide in an organization, whether we encourage people to speak up or we shut them up the moment they open their mouth. होता है कि नहीं? कई bosses ऐसे मिलते हैं, the moment you try to give a suggestion, रहने दीजिए, or nothing better was expected from you. They will discourage you. Right, the way they will respond to your suggestion, you will वो इनके सामने आगे से मुंह नहीं खोलूंगा. I will have my cup of tea, and why should I unnecessarily, allow my temper to go high, my BP to go high? And this person doesn't want my suggestion, why should I give? So whether you encourage people to speak up, whether you encourage discussions, or whether you think you are the only monopoly of wisdom in this organization, isn't it? So participatory approach is very important. Last but not the least, educate the employees about these things. Very, very important. Not only when you organize these vigilance awareness weeks, but it should be a regular exercise, because as I said, ignorance is no excuse, but knowledge is power. If you know, then obviously you are more informed. If you are more informed, then obviously you will take better decisions. Right, so these things like Prevention of Corruption Act, the Conduct Rules, Right to Information Act, CCA rules, etc. Very, very important things. Next P, first is prevent. So our attempt should be to prevent. We shouldn't allow a bad thing to happen. But people, certain people, you may, whatever kind of systems you may have, they are very adamant, stubborn kind of people. Come what may, we will have our way. हमें तो भाई, we have come with this determination that we have to make fast money. So next P is, okay, if you will do this, we will catch you. You will be detected. This point out. We will be able to point it out. So there should be what it is called, certainty of being caught. Your culture should be such that, whoever will indulge in anything wrong, that person should know that that person will be caught. Now, how many of us know that Government of India has issued certain office memorandums, OAMs, in order to promote this P, point out? How many of you know about these things like agreed list and ODI list? Anyone, what is agreed list? Agreed list? You see, and those who come from the vigilance background, they are supposed to know. Every year, the CBI and the department, vigilance officers, generally the CVOs, they sit together and they prepare a list. List of whom? Of the public servants working in that department organization whose integrity is doubtful, considered to be doubtful, perceived to be doubtful. Because so far we have not come across a particular complaint on which we have initiated action. Try to appreciate the difference. I don't have anything tangible as of now upon which either I have registered a case or I have initiated a departmental inquiry, but the reputation and image of this person is very bad. People come and tell me as a vigilance officer, sir ये अधिकारी ना बिना पैसे काम नहीं करते, बट अभी कोई शिकायत तो नहीं आई मेरे पास जिसको लेकर के I would have initiated some inquiry, I would have got the evidence to initiate a specific action against this person. But I know so many people can't be wrong, and I also know the way he has been, I see so many changes I see in the way his personal life, the way he is leading a lifestyle. So what we do is, all those people who are perceived to be corrupt or who do not hold a good image, they are put into this list, what is known as agreed list. Now why do we put people under agreed list? So that we put them under watch, surveillance. Now we will see how does he behave, where does he go after office hours, does he visit clubs, does he frequent clubs. In Goa to वैसे भी we have to be more careful I think in a place like this, because when you come out of the airport you are welcomed by what? Casinos all over. And this is the only place in the country perhaps where it is legal to go to a casino. Okay, so agreed list. And I have seen many officers, even officers of CBI. Goa was under me when I was JD Mumbai. So one of our officer from the North India, we noticed that he never wanted to be transferred out of this place. Generally they don't, I mean, okay, coming here and spending few years is okay. And this person, then I came to know that he is buying a flat in Goa. So we became suspicious. How come suddenly he has developed so much interest in this place, though he comes from Haryana, state of Haryana? Can you imagine somebody from Haryana settling down in Goa? What we discovered to our horror was that he had become addict of gambling. Obviously, then you indulge in a lot of undesirable activities. Needless to say, ODI list, officers of doubtful integrity. Action has already begun, either departmental action or criminal case under the PC Act. So now we know that the integrity of this officer has been found to be doubtful. Let us put this officer in this list, and again there are consequences when you are put into either of the list. Maybe particularly those who are on ODI list, they may not get their promotions. Particularly if there is any deputation post and vigilance clearance is sought, vigilance department will not give them vigilance clearance. If there is a training outside the country or some important workshop or seminar, they will never be considered, and above all they will not be considered for posting on what is considered as sensitive desk. भाई यहाँ पे इसको मत लगाओ, ये जाति करप्शन करेगा, इसकी इंटीग्रिटी ठीक नहीं है. So people, you know, it comes with consequences. Next is UCPs. What is the meaning of this? Any guess? Undesirable contact persons. Means middleman, tout. What kind of persons from outside visit this officer time and again? Why do they come again and again? So you have to be vigilant about who are visiting your officers. Okay, normal persons visit, okay. And your friends, your acquaintances may come once a while, but they will not come regularly. If certain typical persons are visiting an officer regularly in the office or even meeting this person after office hours, take it from me, those persons are acting as his or her middleman or tout. So we have to prepare a list, we have to identify, and we have to discourage our officers falling prey to the middlemen. I have already covered this, identification of corruption prone points and places. Conduction of surprise checks. What is a surprise check? Have you ever heard of it? Surprise check, these are also the tools even the state governments may think of if it is not in vogue there. These are the established practices as per the directions of the Government of India in most of the departments and organizations under the Government of India, but many states have also copied it. Surprise check, suddenly if this is a sensitive desk, if this particular person is handling a sensitive work where there is a scope of indulging in corruption, suddenly one day without that person's notice or knowledge, I, along with maybe someone from the Anti-Corruption Bureau or the CBI, will say, can I look at this tender file, this work order which you have just now issued very recently, so that surprise, you have been taken by surprise, that if everything is okay, it means you are a good officer. If I find anything objectionable, I may initiate inquiry or investigation on the same. This is important. And again, here it is not only the vigilance officers, but the disciplinary authorities. The authorities, who are responsible for maintaining general conduct and lifestyle of employees under watch. And I said, passive honest employee, even your neighbor, suddenly you find a change in the behavior of this person. What kind of change? Not his personal behavior towards you, but in his lifestyle. Suddenly this person has become developed liking for good things. So the way he dresses, the kind of vehicles this person has been using, the kind of places this person has been visiting after office hours. There is a sudden change in the lifestyle. This person is now appears to be living beyond means. Obviously, this person is in for a trouble, and if as a supervisory officer or as a colleague you are looking the other way, then you may also fall in trouble. That is the idea. Frequent borrowings. Someone who becomes addicted to gambling, for which you need money every day. Addiction maybe of many a times people fall prey to addiction. These days these online games are there. So many online games are there, then some people become drug addict. So this addiction means that you need money in order to fulfill your addictions. From where will you get money? Either you will borrow from your own colleagues, and we have seen many cases where people are indulging in frequent borrowings. And sometimes people walk up to us and say, this person I lent him, it could be a small amount, 10,000, 20,000, 2 years back, 3 years back, he is not returning. And when we do an inquiry, we find out he has not taken only from you, but he has taken from 20 others. And he has not returned to anyone. Obviously, if this person has fallen into a debt trap, how would he recover this money when he will come under pressure? Many a times people go under depression. Many a times people commit suicides. In the organizations it has happened. But most from our point of view, obviously, as and when this person will get opportunity, he will indulge in corruption in order to recoup this money. He may indulge in embezzlement also if he is the custodian of money in the department. So these things are also very important point. How to detect? We generally ignore. Whoever is the employer, means the appointing authority, whoever is responsible as a custodian of these things, like the annual property returns, we all know, again under the conduct rules, all officers are supposed to provide details of annual property returns, particularly the immovable properties. From where have you bought, what are the sources, how did you arrange money, what exactly is the value, whether the property has been undervalued or it has been shown in the records the actual value. A closer scrutiny is very important. Intimations under conduct rules. When we would come to the conduct rules, we would see there are many things when you enter into transactions with respect to the immovable properties and also with respect to movable properties. There is a requirement of seeking previous approval of the employer and at times of at least giving intimation to the employer. So what kind of intimations this person is giving? And many a times persons do not even bother. As an employer, I am also not bothered. The employee is also not bothered. That employee is indulging in transactions but neither seeking approval nor giving you any intimation. Is it a good situation for the organization? Obviously, this person will be encouraged. Yahan to koi pooch hi nahi raha. As I said, I have already covered. So, frequent interest-free loans and gifts are very dangerous. And a sure mark of, it is an indicator, at least you need to find out. What kind of persons who are giving this person interest-free loans? When I say interest-free loans, temporary loans without interest is okay, particularly from the family members, from the close friends, it is okay, permissible. But what is the area of worry? We have seen when these loans are never returned. After 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, you ask why someone has given you 10 lakhs and that person has not even bothered to take it back without interest. Okay, no problem. That person may not have charged you the interest, but the principal, at least anybody who, if it is my hard earned money, even if I lend it to my brother, isn't it? At least I'll expect someday when he's in a position that he should return it. But we find in many cases people have taken money, they have shown it as interest free loan and they have never returned. Gifts, we will come to specific examples again when we will go to the frequent remittances from abroad. There is a very interesting example I will give, but not now, later. Probe. Next P. First was prevent, second was point, next is probe. Obviously, if you have detected some wrongdoing being done by an employee or a public servant, what do you do next? You subject that person to some inquiry or investigation, probing. So, what are the things we need to keep in mind when we probe? It could be, as I said, you have to decide the degree of misconduct. Depending upon that, you will decide, and for that we will discuss the importance of doing preliminary inquiries. Preliminary detection means once you have detected a wrongdoing, then the first thing you will think of is doing a fact-finding inquiry or a preliminary inquiry, so that you want to determine the seriousness of the misconduct, and based upon that you will decide two questions: whether it is just a violation of the conduct rules so that I initiate departmental action, or it is a criminal misconduct where I need to report this matter to an anti-corruption agency, an investigating agency, a law enforcement agency. So, depending upon that you will decide, and once you decide to do inquiry within the department, it is very important to ensure expeditious completion of these inquiries. We will talk later about, more about these things like observance of principle of natural justice. I think all of you know what are the principles of natural justice? Anybody? I think this is the simplest question. Yes, ma'am. Odi alteram partem and sorry. Yes, never decide, never condemn anyone unheard. Odi alteram partem means you should always hear the other side, give that person an opportunity to defend. That is the idea. That is the first important principle of the natural justice. What is the second principle? There is one more. Sorry? Rule of bias. Okay, and to put it simply, how do you explain? How do you explain? You know the rule, but how do you explain? Nemo judax in causa sua. Nobody should be the judge in his own cause. You are under investigation and you become the judge, and some people say, we are both the judge and jury and the victim also. Sometimes the person against whom the allegation is there. So, nobody should sit in his own cause as a judge. So, rule of bias, you must rule out bias, you must introduce impartiality, fairness, etc., etc. So, we have to observe these principles. Gathering sufficient relevant admissible evidence is important. Evaluation of evidence, these two things I will explain again when I will come to the inquiry. What is the difference between this idea of preponderance of probability and burden beyond reasonable doubt, that we will see later. These I think we can skip. Punish. Fourth P. So, you have prevent, then you have point, then you have probe, you have done the inquiry or investigation. Now, there is a finding before you that yes, this person has indulged in misconduct. It could be, as I said, a departmental misconduct or it could be a criminal misconduct. Depending upon that, I will decide the punish. Punishment is important. There are chapter on penalties in the CCA rules, And obviously in any penal law, criminal law, that is the Prevention of Corruption Act, in this case there are punishments. So what is the idea of this punishment? First of all, who will tell me why do we punish? Why punishment is necessary? Madam, why punishment is necessary? Why should we punish? That is the idea, not to derive a pleasure, vicarious, sadistic pleasure, that if this person will suffer, I will be very happy. That should never be the idea of punishment. Okay, punish, why do we punish? Because we have to deter people from repeating the same activity which we consider wrong. Isn't it? That is why we punish both, whether it is a departmental punishment or it is a punishment under a penal law. The theory of punishment is this, what we also call as theory of deterrence. And when we talk about theory of deterrence, there are basically these three essential elements for this theory to be effective. When your punishments will be effective, means they will be able to deter a person from the repeat activity. First of all, there are two types of deterrence. When we punish, we want to deter whom? The person who has done the wrong thing and also his neighbor. What is known as general deterrence and specific deterrence. General specific deterrence means the person whom we are punishing, so that we are punishing you because please don't do this again. Otherwise, next time the punishment would be severe. You may even lose your job. You may even face prosecution in the court of law. Punishments come with degrees. And general deterrence means even your neighbor should be deterred by seeing your fate. That this person indulged in wrongdoing, he has been punished, it is better to keep away from such unlawful practices. So this is called general deterrence. Now the three essential elements of certainty, the first thing I said, point, certainty of being caught. If the culture in the organization should be such that whoever indulges in anything undesirable, there should be a perception in the organization that it will certainly be detected. Certainty of being detected is the most important deterring effect in any place, in any setting. Next is celerity. I will take the celerity first. Celerity means speed. Speed is very important. How long you take in detecting, how long you take in punishing. So there comes the importance when we talk in the context of departmental inquiries and investigation, how long we take in completing these departmental inquiries. Many a times these inquiries go on for years. By the time you decide the punishment, this person is already retired. He has gone home. And now you want to punish. And you know what kind of punishment you can give to a retired person? Only that person's pension can be affected. Now will it matter? Because he is not looking for any promotion. He is not looking for any increments. You can't reduce this person to a lower stage. You can't dismiss, you can't remove. Because he is already retired. So you know, speed is very important in order the deterrent theory to be effective. Third is sufficiency of punishment. Punishment should be sufficient, proportionate to the wrongdoing. If I give an example, suppose someone has embezzled rupees 1 crore out of the government fund. Embezzlement of 1 crore rupees. I have done the probe, inquiry, detected, caught him, probed him, found guilty. I have the evidence. Now I am deciding the punishment. I said, I issue you a censure. What is censure as a punishment? Sorry, minor penalty, what? Kind of warning. Kind of warning. Okay. Don't do it again. This censure. It is a minor penalty. This person has embezzled 1 crore of rupees. What effect this punishment will have on this person? Very soon he will say, let me look for another opportunity to get another censure. I have 1 crore in this pocket. Now in this pocket also I will have another 1 crore. Such a good person. Huh? One censure for 1 crore. Let me have 2 more. So whether this punishment will be deterrent enough to prevent this person from doing this again. Say if the same person, not only that you had the option of dismissing this person. In that case, he is not eligible for another government employment. and you could have also ordered recovery along with the penalties out of whatever dues you have to pay to this person. And you would have also got a criminal case registered against this person, because embezzlement is also a crime under the penal law. And how many of us know that we can do both? Civil proceedings and criminal proceedings can be done together on the same allegation. Many people harbor this impression in the vigilance that both can't happen together and both can't happen at all. Whereas there are rulings of the apex court, and this is also part of our presentation, we'll see dismissal under CCA rules on conviction. There is a rule 19, we will see in particular when we come to that. It says if you have been convicted by a court of law on a criminal charge, no need to hold any departmental inquiry. You can straight away dismiss such public servants. So you have to be and of course, in case if you are already retired, you are a pensioner, by the time you are convicted, your pension can be stopped as a punishment. Last P before we break for tea. Protect. Whom we have to protect? Any guess? Who should be protected? I give a lot of importance to this last P. We have seen prevent, yes. We have seen point, we have seen probe, we have seen punish, and last is protect. Any guess whom we have to protect? Very easy. Sorry? Honest person. Because we must be aware of false complaints. We must be aware of malicious complaints. We must be aware of vexatious allegations. And Madam asked me to speak on types of complaints. I'll again come to that later. But we must know there are anonymous complaints. There are pseudonymous complaints. There are guidelines of the CVC. There are guidelines of your own Department of Vigilance on how to treat these kind of complaints. You must have heard of when a person is on the verge of promotion, when a person is being considered for appointment to a sensitive post, which is considered very important, for which many people are in line or queue. Suddenly we find in CVC, ask them, flood of complaints against this person, because idea is to prevent this person from being impaneled or from being appointed on this important post. Suddenly you will see a complaint, and if you initiate inquiry, the vigilance clearance will be held up. There is a complaint and we are inquiring. So it is very, very important that when you inquire, protect complaints, you must protect an honest public servant, and therefore your inquiries, your investigation should always be very, very fair, just, transparent and impartial, objective. There should not be any bias into and evidence of proving dishonest intention, more so in criminal cases. We know two requirements to prove a crime, isn't mens rea and actus reus. The actual act, whether it constitutes a crime as defined in the statute, and whether this person had the guilty mind, dishonest intention to do this crime. So the importance of proving dishonest intention, distinguish between bona fide and mala fide errors. Do you know mistakes do happen with everyone? We are all human beings, isn't it? We are not God. So to error is human. That also we all know. We all commit mistakes. I can tell you there is no person who can claim that I have worked for 30 years, 35 years, 40 years and in my life I never made a mistake. That person then in that case can be given the status of a god, if that person is there and anyone who makes this kind of claim. But then we have to see the intention. Again, whether this mistake happened inadvertently or it was done deliberately. In the context of corruption, in the context of integrity, why deliberate or voluntary mistakes are done for favoring someone or for making money, isn't it? So that is why there is a very important thing to be noticed, particularly when we are investigating or inquiring into complaints of corruption, whether if there is any mistake or error, Is it bona fide or it is a mala fide mistake? As I said, always be aware of false and malicious complaints, and last but not the least, always have this policy. It is there in CVC guidelines also. If you reach on to a conclusion that the complaint itself was malicious, false, the complainant itself is a malicious person, generally we do not take action against such persons. I think that is one of our biggest weaknesses. Both, even in crimes also, I find when I have discovered, when I know that this complaint, this person wanted me to initiate a criminal action against this person, and knowing fully well that this complaint itself is malicious, false, what action I am taking against the complainant? You know, under the conduct rules, at least not only that it is a criminal offense to make a false complaint, and there are two sections in IPC 182 and 211. But if you are not in a position to initiate a criminal action, particularly if the complainant happens to be a public servant, then you can initiate departmental action. This itself is a undesirable conduct prohibited by your conduct rules. Where is it written? Is it written somewhere that if you will make false complaint, you are liable for action under the conduct rules? It may not be written in those words, but it is there, and if time permits, I'll read it out to you. I think with this, we can break for the cup of tea, and then we will come to the PC Act. Thank you.
So we'll take a 10 minutes tea break.